Okay, hi. With KoF back in the spotlight, getting weekly trailers for KoF XV, hyping up the release this year, hopefully. And a lot of new players are picking up KoF 2K2 thanks to its rollback netcode edition. So I wanted to make a video compiling all the useful information that will help you learn KoF, because it has a stigma of being a really hard game, and that's not true. This is going to be extra useful if you're coming in from other fighting games like Street Fighter or Tekken or MK. Basically, I'm going to go over the things I wanted to see in a video when I was learning KoF. We'll go over things like how the game works, how to do certain combos, different shortcuts you can utilize, how the flow of the game is supposed to look like, how to do certain things and how to beat them. And the focus here is for KoF 15 and how it's gonna play, but almost everything we're gonna talk about applies to the older KoFs as well. So if the aim is to learn 13 or 14 or 2K2, this is gonna work across all the games. If you're looking for something specific, check the timestamps. I'll have them all there. Alright, we're gonna start light and just cover what's on the screen first. KoF is a 3v3 game, a team game, but it's not like the other games where you have things like tagging or assist. It's just a one-on-one, and then once you lose that character, the next character comes in. You win by beating the opponent's 3 characters. It's like very straightforward. Team synergy and the order does matter, but it's not as significant as other games. Big thing on top is the health bars. They're split into 10 sections. KoF games usually have 1000 health across the board for all characters. The only exception I know of is KoF 14, where they had a patch that changed some characters to have a bit more or less than 1000. In the middle you have the timer. The main thing here is that in KoF, when you lose a round, you do not get full health back. And instead, you get a bit of health back depending on how much time is left. I'll have the details on the screen, but essentially the faster you end the round, the more health you get back. At the bottom you have the super meter. Every fighting game has this now. This is how you do your big flashy super moves and a couple of other options. You max out at 3 bars for your first character, second character gets 4, and then your last gets 5. Meter is very important in KoF. Your last character, the anchor, is your strongest character as they have all the meter to go crazy. Jesus! Team composition is usually based on meter efficiency, how well your character can build or use the meter. Now I want to go over the KoF notations, because this is something you'll need to know if you want to look up anything KoF related, and it makes it easier for me to explain things. The buttons are referred to as A, B, C, and D. A is light punch, B is light kick, C is heavy punch, and D is heavy kick. The directions is the same as Street Fighter or Tekken. The first letter is the direction. So U is up, D is down, F is forward, B is back. QCF or fireball motion is just a quarter circle forward. HCB is a half circle back, and so on. If you're a numpad notation enthusiast, that's fine too. KoF players don't trip about that. But I won't be using them in this video. This is what I'll be using from now. There's a cheat sheet if you need it in the description. Okay, before you freak out, these are just reference numbers that are good to know about. Fastest normal for most characters is usually 4 frames. Some of them are like 5 or 6, and very few have a 3 frame normal. In most cases, your fastest normal is actually your close C or close D. This is your punish button, as it's a heavy that can go into big damage, and it's your fastest normal. Quick reversals, like the really fast DPs, are around 4 frames. There's slower ones and there's really fast ones being 3 frames, but these are very rare. Throws are 1 or 2 frames depending on the game. They're super fast and can punish a lot of things if you're close enough, but there's usually a better option than just throw. Fast command grabs like Clark's or Diamonds are 1 frame, so they're really scary in KoF. For charge specials, the charge time is 30 frames, which in layman terms is half a second. In Street Fighter, the charge time is 2 full seconds, so in this game, you'll get your charge moves a lot quicker. Alright, that's it, no more frame talk. Alright, in KoF, you have a run, there's no dashing. Forward gives you a run, and as long as you're holding forward, your character will keep running. You can cancel the run into almost anything. You can cancel into a normal, special, or a roll, almost anything you want. Notice here that even if you just press forward, your character will run for just a bit. This is important because it means you cannot block and you cannot crouch immediately. However, because you can't cancel it, you can buffer a lot of things here. This is how you do the run-up grab. Essentially, when you press forward and then start holding back and then press the button once you're close enough, you will get a run-up grab. Back gives you a backdash. It's exactly what it looks like. You dash backwards. In KoF, you're airborne frame 1 on a backdash, meaning that even on a meaty, you can backdash and get hit in the air instead of on the ground. This can help you avoid big combos, but you're still gonna get hit by the first attack. And because you're airborne, this means you avoid lows and throws. Because you're airborne, if your character has an air special or an air command normal, you can cancel your backdash into them. This usually makes your backdash go further, and in some cases can be used in mix-ups or in combos. There's technically 4 kinds of jumps in KoF, but that makes it sound more complicated than it actually is. You have the regular jump, like any other game. You use this to close distance, jump over fireballs, the normal stuff. And then you have a super jump, which is the same thing, just a bit higher. This is a down-up motion. And then you have hops, which are tapping up or up forward or up back. A KoF signature. These have a lot of uses and changes up the flow of the game a lot. That's why it's very fast paced. As you can see, it's a very low height and they're very quick. You can do any of your airborne options here. Now thankfully they have a very obvious weakness in their height. Because they don't go very high, almost any standing normal hits. Your main options will be your standing light button. These are very fast, low risk, easy input. They're basically made to stop hops. The last jump option is hyper hop, which is just a hop that goes a bit further. It doesn't go higher, it doesn't take longer. There's the same duration, it's just a different angle for the hop. This is a down and then tap up. If this is hard for you at first, it's okay because it's not a common input. You're not usually tapping directions in other games, so don't worry about it. You'll get used to it. Just keep playing. Throws in KoF are very fast, 1 or 2 frames, but they have very short range and they're initiated with forward or back and your heavies, so C or D. It's the same break, there's no mix up whether you do a forward or a back throw. There's a pretty big window to break, but it's hard to react to, so you essentially need to be ready for them. Main thing here is because you need to break them with forward or back, you cannot do diagonals, so the opponent needs to be standing to break, which can open them up to eating lows if they're expecting a throw. Most throws cause a soft knockdown, so no throw loops, nothing like that. Fast command grabs are 1 frame, which is scary. If you're -1 against a grappler and they do the whole trick, it's a punish every time. Last thing about throws is that you have a bit of throw invincibility on wake up, meaning that you cannot get meatied by a throw when you're getting up. You can still get hit, but you have a bit of throw invincibility just as you're getting up. The basic combo in KoF is just a string of cancels back to back. And there's a hierarchy you can follow. It goes normal into command normal, then special, and then supers. This basically shows you what can cancel into what, and what most BMBs look like. But not all of these are required. As long as you're going up the scale, you can have as many or as few of them as you want. Let's expand on command normals because they're important. Command normals are the extra normals you have outside of your regular kit. They're done with a specific command plus a button, hence the name. In KoF, they're a bit different. First thing is you can cancel into them like they're specials. So off a normal, if you input the command normal, it will just cancel right into it. In combos, you can use this as the bridge between the normal and the special. So you go normal, command normal, special. This is very useful because it gives you more hit stun, because command normals do hit stun similar to heavies, and it gives you more time to hit confirm. And the other thing here is that if you cancel to command normals, their properties change. Like take Leona's forward B for example. This is a knockdown overhead and you can't cancel it. However, if you cancel into it, a few things change. On block, it's no longer an overhead. And on hit, it doesn't knock down anymore and you can cancel it into specials or supers. You basically trade off the overhead property for it being cancelable and allowing you to combo. This is an extreme example, not all of them change this much, but the most common change is that they become cancelable when they're not. Learning what combos into your character's command normals and what you can do after them is basically how you start building your combos. You can skip them like we said earlier and just go straight into specials. They give you more hits, more time to hit confirm, more damage, so there's no reason to not use them. Alright, back to combos. B&B is usually a normal into command normal into special. But what's the next step? KoF XV is bringing EX moves back, so the special is not exactly the end of the combo. If you hit the opponent with a move like KO's Fireball Forward D, it will pop them up. And this is called a launcher. It will put your opponent in a juggle state, meaning that until they're on the ground again, you can do whatever you want. When the opponent is in a juggle state, if you land another special, they will stay in juggle state, but that will change a lot depending on what the special is. If you hit them with a normal, they flip out and the opponent is invincible until they land. Unless you have a setup for after this, just take the damage from a special. Aside from just straight up launchers, there's a few other juggle states, mostly from EX moves. Moves like Benimaru's EX grab cause a crumple state. The opponent will start falling slowly, and in that time you can hit them with other specials. The opponent is pretty low to the ground, so some follow-ups won't work here. Other moves like Terry's EX crack shoot cause a ground bounce, smacking them to the ground so hard that they bounce back up again. Here you need to hit them while they're doing this flippy thing. And then the last two types are wall related. So you have the wall bounce. This is probably the highest launch state, but it's finicky because it can change depending on the distance between you and the wall. You gotta catch them after they bounce off the wall before hitting the ground. In my opinion, avoid these kind of moves if your character has other juggle options, unless you're in the corner or in a place where you know exactly where they're gonna land. And the last one is the wall stick, where you can hit the opponent after they stick on the wall. You combo your opponent as soon as they start sliding off the wall. This has its own section because it's very important to know about. All these guys making the KoF XIII trial videos, if they knew about this, these videos would be half as long. Basically, when you're doing a special or a super, if you hold the button instead of just pressing it, what happens is that the game stores the whole input and basically keeps repeating it for around 7 or 10 frames. What this means is if you adjust your timing just a bit so that you do the special or super input before the proper timing and hold the button, it will buffer it and make it come out on the first possible frame. This will make combos where you have a small window to do the next move so much easier. Just hold trick your specials a bit early and they'll come out every time, as long as you did the correct input. This is also useful outside of combos, like if you're doing a wake up special to reversal through gaps. For punishing, really important for punishing. Just buffer the input a little bit earlier and hold the button. Frame perfect punish. If there's one thing I want you to come out of this video knowing, it's this. If you're still struggling with combos, these are some other things that you should know about. Some of them you can call shortcuts, and some of them are alternate inputs to get the same result. First is the half circle inputs, which I know people love. You can actually shortcut these in a lot of ways. The game only looks for the forward, down, and back inputs, meaning you can skip a diagonal or both if you want, and the game will still give you the half circle. This is for both specials and the supers that have the half circle input. Let's take a very common super input in KoF, the Rambo. Quarter circle forward, then half circle back. The quarter circle is strict. You can't skip anything here. But the half circle back, you can. Because you don't need the down forward, you can actually do this as fireball forward, then fireball back. This also works if you flip the input, where it's fireball back, then fireball forward. This input also has a completely different way to do this. For the Rambo, you can actually do double quarter circle forward and then back with the button and it'll still come out. Personally, I find this harder, but if that works better for you or in the combo, maybe you have some input overlap, so you can do this instead. Same deal with Orochinagi, the opposite input. Double quarter circle back into forward with the button. If you're on stick, this is really easy input if you ride the gate and just slide across the corners. It's even better on Octogate, corners are closer so you can just slide through with one finger. The Z input or the Dragon Punch input also has some alternates, as long as you don't have another move that clashes with the alternate input. A half circle back into forward or forward into half circle forward both give you DP. How useful this is will depend on your character, but they are usually very useful if your character has a lot of overlap, like a fireball and a DP and a double fireball. Last thing to add here is buffering, meaning using the previous command you inputted and combining it with what you're gonna do next. For example, if you want to do a fireball canceled into a double fireball motion super, because the first fireball is a quarter circle, you already buffered in the first part of the super, so you can just finish the command with a second fireball motion. You probably already know this if you played Street Fighter. The inputs for specials and supers are obviously very different across characters, so you can experiment and see how you can combine your character's inputs. Another important buffer is off of run. We already talked about how run has a minimum distance that your character will run even if you try to do other directions. So this means you can buffer in that duration and put any other input like a special or a super while you're running and it won't stop. This is how you do a run-up command grab or a run-up super. You do this by starting the run, then buffering the next command. You'll combine the special input with the forward. For example, Iore's command grab is a half circle back into forward. Notice that there are two forwards in that input already, in the beginning and in the end. So if you do it fast enough and delay your button press, you can run up a bit and then still get the special. Half circle forward input, similar deal. Hit forward, then do a quick half circle forward, that's two forwards for the run, and just delay the button. Double half circle backs are a bit harder, but they also have two forwards. The thing is, they're really far apart if you do the input slow, so you need to do it fast or add an extra forward before or after the double half circle back. Last example is the run-up fireball. If your character has a DP input, doing a run into fireball will always get you the DP because the forward is still in the buffer. To avoid this, end your input in up forward instead of forward and you'll get your run-up fireball. Ending in forward will get you DP, ending in up forward will get you fireball. This also applies in combos if your character has a command normal with forward. If you don't want to do the DP, end the fireball motion with up forward. Blowbacks or CDs are a unique normal in KoF and it's essentially an extra normal you get in your arsenal. You can do it on the ground and in the air, and there's a couple of universal properties across all of them. They hit mid, they have a lot of active frames, and they're very beefy on block. But the most important thing is that you can cancel them on hit, on block, and on whiff. Meaning you can do them really early as a feint or as a Kara to get more range. You can do them after the attack hits, or you can do it right as it connects. So there's a lot of different ways to use this depending on your character. On hit, they knock the opponent away, but you cannot combo after it, unless it's a counter hit. If you get a counter hit CD, you can combo into almost anything. In KoF XIV, the CD's got a new property where if you hit a ground CD on a grounded opponent, you will get a wall stick. This is obviously very different as it will depend on the distance between you and the wall. You can convert into a full combo or something really small or nothing at all. The important thing here is this doesn't change whether it's regular or counter hit. Air CDs are also a mid, which is important because it means you can block it crouching. These are also very beefy on block, meaning that if you do an air CD late enough, you can usually get a free hop mix-up. Jump CDs are very important in general. Everyone's CD is different, but there's three categories that they fall into. The offensive one is usually aimed to the ground, and these are important because they hit you even if you're crouching. These are used to initiate your offense, and they're very good air to ground, but they're not good air to air. Their downside is a long startup, so you can interrupt them if you're quick enough. The second type is the defensive CDs, and these have a lot of range horizontally. These are used for space control and air to airs. Their main weakness is they usually don't hit crouching opponents, meaning you can duck under them and punish. And the last type is the hybrid, which is a bit of both. It will cover air to air and it will hit crouchers, but it's not amazing at both, usually. Last bit about air CDs is that if you have an air special, you can usually cancel the jump CD into it. It won't combo unless it's counter hit, but it can give you extra layers of mix-up or safety. Alright, a KoF signature, the rolls. You can roll forward or backward. They are invincible to everything but throws. So if you're close enough, you can throw them out of it. They also have a bit of recovery in the end where you can hit them. You can use them on wake up to avoid projectiles, to avoid some mix-ups. be careful. If you're too predictable, you're gonna get punished hard. Alright, thankfully you have a couple of defensive options once you start blocking, and both of them are really good. For a cost of 1 bar, you can either guard cancel roll or guard cancel CD. The guard cancel CD is a low damaging hit, but it will knock the opponent away. This is if you want to stay out of the corner or you're about to be guard broken. Guard cancel roll is the safer option because the roll is completely invincible, and unlike the regular roll, this doesn't have recovery in the end and you can't throw it, so it's completely safe. A good corner escape option is usually guard cancel roll and then roll again. You have 2 types of knockdown in KoF, a soft knockdown and a hard knockdown. Soft knockdown means you can do a quick recovery of it, which is the roll input. As soon as you hit the ground, you do the roll, you'll get up quicker. A hard knockdown means you cannot do anything to get up, and your timing will be easier for the opponent to do some oki or get some distance. Sweeps are universally soft knockdown, even on a counter hit. If you get hit by a sweep, just know that you can recover. Most throws are also soft knockdowns. Specials vary a lot, so some are soft knockdown and some of them are hard knockdowns. Supers though are all hard knockdowns, you cannot quick recovery out of those. Alright, this is a fun subject, the projectile spamming. KoF fireballs or projectiles are very straightforward. It's just small fireball that goes across the screen. In most cases, you'll have a light version and a heavy version. The light version travels slower and has slower startup, but it recovers really quickly. And then the heavy version travels fast and has fast startup, but it has more recovery. And recognizing the difference between these two will help you a lot in dealing with characters that will try to zone you out. Mainly because the light projectiles for a lot of these characters recover really fast. And in most cases you can't even punish them unless you have a hard read. However, there's also a couple of other things that the engine has that can help you with dealing with projectiles. For one, projectiles do not build meter unless they connect. So if the opponent is just throwing projectiles, just avoid them through rolls or just jumping, or if you have a special that cancels them, you can do that too. This way they're not building any meter, and if you're doing a special, you're building meter when they're not. The other thing is that even if you're blocking them, if you notice the meters below, you are building more meter than the character throwing the projectiles. You build bar, which can help you get in. So if you're stuck blocking them, don't worry about it. Just inch in slowly and safely, and you will have a lot of meter to explode once you get there. In most cases, the goal won't be to just zone you out full screen all match, and instead, the goal here is usually forcing you to block the projectile and them getting a free mix-up, or you doing a bad roll or a bad jump and then eating a DP or a super for it. So again, just be patient and work your way in, and then take the chance when you see a very obvious slow fireball, or if you read a heavy fireball. Alright, we'll go over how to stop basic hop pressure, because this is something you will be bombarded with in the game. The most basic solution is a standing A or B, depending on your character. This is the perfect height, it's really fast, and it's really easy to do. It's just one button. So this is a fundamental way of stopping hops. It's just a hop, you press a light button. However, a weakness here is that if the opponent does a regular jump, the light usually doesn't have the angle to stop it. And how do you stop regular jumps? The answer differs depending on the character. Sometimes it's air to air, sometimes it's using a heavier normal, or if you have a DP you can do that too. However, the risk here is that the bigger normals and specials will leave you in longer recovery, meaning if they did a hop and you committed to one of these, you will probably get punished. So the anti-airing game becomes reading your opponent, whether they will hop or they will run in or they will do a full jump. However, a unique anti-air in KoF is using a low. When you're landing from a jump, whether you did a button or not, if you land on an active low, you will get hit. And this is a very big deal because a very common jump in is the jump CD, and a lot of them whiff on crouchers. So if you're in range and you do a crouching B, you will go under the CD and anti-air the opponent. However, this is a risky option because if they did something other than the CD, you will get hit. This can also be applied in other ways, like running under your opponent and hitting them with a low from the other side. Let's flip the script. Your opponent is doing standing lights to stop your hop approach. What do you do against it? The fundamental answer is using a sweep or a low. Most standing normals don't hit crouchers and they don't have a lot of range. So if you do something like a sweep, you will hit them right out of it. However, this option has a risk because lows will lose to hops, meaning that if they read that you're gonna do a sweep, they can just hop and punish you for it. And all these options are what create the circle. Hops will lose versus standing normals lose versus lows, and then lows will lose against hops. And this dynamic is a basic idea of how you should be thinking in the match. If you're like noticing, oh, the opponent loves to do sweeps here, you hop over it. Oh, okay, he hops a lot, you do some standing normals, and so on. Okay, let's try to expand on the KoF Footsies. Hop normals, because of their height and how fast you can do them, they can be usually used as pokes, as long as you're spacing them correctly. And these are basically used like standing normals to control the neutral without having the weakness to lows. Essentially, this is a very strong tool, and depending on the character, this can be hard to stop. There's a couple of ways to deal with this, but they depend on either your spacing or when they are doing the hop normals. If you're close enough, if they're doing the hop normal early, it means it won't be active by the time they're coming down, so you can punish this with a low. If they are doing them late, this means that you can do a standing normal to interrupt them before they come out. Again, spacing is very important here, because if you're too close or too far, this will be harder to deal with. Another option is to just do a normal jump and go above their hop normals. The main thing I want to emphasize here is try to not stay still unless you want to. Like, just move around, use your mobility. You have hops, you have rolls, you have runs, you can neutral jump, you can neutral hop. Staying still makes you an easy target. So unless you have a purpose of being in a certain range, don't be there. Just create distance, get the distance you want. Like, you're a zoner, back up a bit. You want to get close, you want to read whatever they're doing, stay in a mid-range where you can react but not close enough where you just get hopped in on. Alright, I didn't know where to put this, so I just decided to put it here. This is a very important option select that you need to know about, and that's the back and C option select on block. And don't worry, it's a very easy option select to do. Essentially, when you're blocking a jump in, when the opponent is almost on the ground, what you want to do is always back and C. Basically, if you do this late enough, they will either block the jump in and your back C won't come out at all because you're in block stun, or if they did an empty jump, your close C or throw will come out. Essentially, what this does is it covers you against the option of empty hop low. They will throw them as soon as they land, or you'll get a close C, which is a very fast normal. Whether you want to use this or not is up to you. Just know that most veteran KoF players are doing this after they block your hop attack. And I think that will do for this video. There's obviously a lot more to cover, but I want to wait till we get more info on KoF 15 specifically, because there's a lot of things we don't even know about the game. We haven't even seen the health bars yet. So things like max mode, how it works, different ways to utilize it, and things like that will be in a future follow-up video. But this is where we'll stop for now. Hopefully that wasn't too much info and you got something out of that. And if you're still watching this, I want to hear your thoughts. How was the format? Did you learn anything from this? Was there something you wanted to see that I didn't cover? Let me know and I'll cover it next time. And there's a couple of other videos I have in mind. Mainly I want to cover the already released characters. I'll go over their game plan and how they work for people that are interested in playing them in KoF 15. But that's it. Hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.